What is up, guys? Check it out. I have myself an RC drift car build to do. Oh yeah. Not only that, this is also my first Yokomo. But I did always want one, especially when I got into the four-wheel drive drifting scene when that was all new years ago, like maybe more than 10 years ago, more than a decade ago. These guys were doing it and people were doing it with the stock, Tamiya chassis and stuff, just, changing the gears and unlocking the diffs and putting plastic tires on it, PVC, usually ABS tires, stuff like that, And now, here we are, two-wheel drive drifting. I know it's been out for a little bit longer now, but I've just got back into it. And I'm so glad I did because I've been missing out with these two-wheel drives. And I got back in with it with these little guys right here, these little LDRCs. Now I recommend you check these out if you've never drifted before because these things are pretty fun. And I do have a playlist on these right here. There's a newer version of this that has the newer controller now and the newer ESC receiver combo that has a better gyro in it, so it works a lot better. And they have the Miata. And they also have springs in them now versus the, the torsion bar style suspension. Now they have actual coilovers in there. But I'm not here for that. I'm here for the 10 scale stuff. Now Red Cat right here, I guess noticed that I was getting into it with these guys. So they sent me an RTR RDS. And you know what? I had a lot of fun with this. Now since I wasn't completely a newbie, I was actually able to get this to, drift around a little bit. And I had some help with some guys over there at Tandem RC. If you are going to get an RDS, in my opinion, go with the kit. And if you know anyone in your local track or anything that has owned one, that's a benefit to you because you can grab the kit and they'll tell you what to do with it and you're going to have an awesome drifting RC car. Trust me, you'll hang with anyone with these things. They're pretty good. I believe this is what they call more the middle of the range. To me, this kit comes with more like middle to higher of the range parts. That's why I think this SD 2.0 was the deal for me. But I'll let you guys know why I went with this instead of the more popular Rev D RDX that most people have been commenting and telling me to get, and most people at the drift track actually tell me to get. But the way I want to upgrade it, with a carbon chassis and then aluminum shocks and stuff. I know the shocks on the RDX is good stock. I've actually gotten to drive an RDX, pretty stock configuration with good electronics on it, and it runs really smooth. So no complaint there, fully stock arms and everything, no adjustable arms, all stock spec, and I liked it. And it was very smooth. So I'm not telling you don't get an RDX, it's good value, and if you don't care about carbon and all the bling stuff, you're gonna get a good car. But for me, since my Red Cat RDS already had that and spoiled me with the carbon chassis and stuff, I just had to get something that kind of matched it. So here we are. This body right here has been a body I've had for way over a decade. It's just sitting on my shelf. I just threw it on here because it looked better than the stock body. It's not really a drift body, it's more like a touring car body or a rally car body, but it works, looks nice. This one right here is going to get a different body on it. I don't know what yet. I still haven't even bought one. I just have the chassis now. I have the electronics for it actually already, so that's going to be in a different video. But for now, let's go ahead and open this box up. I'm going to show you, as you can tell, unopened. This is legitly my first see. I'm going to see this with you guys for the first time, to see Yokomo's quality for the first time ever. So let's break into this guy and I'll tell you why I chose this kit. So this Red Cat RDS right here was set up for me by Tommy over there at Tandem RC. He's one of the guys from Tech Drift. Pretty cool guy, and yeah, they're pretty nice guys over there. They helped me out get into drifting. Thanks a lot for making me spend a lot of money, guys. Thank you. And I met a couple guys from this team, Notachi right here. Me rocking their stickers right here. Why? Because they actually invited me to join their group. So now I am part of a drift group called Notachi, and I'm probably the worst driver on there, building his first drift car. Let's break into this box. And the seal is broken. It's officially mine. Ooh, look at that. Kind of wish they did what Team Associated does, when they put graphics on the inside to turn it into a garage. That's a pretty cool trick that almost got me to get the DC-10. And I might actually still get a DC-10 or try to see if somebody will let me have their box, because I do like the garage. First bag, bag one. What are the chances? Looks like we have the battery tray, the back half of the chassis, bottom chassis, and it has some aluminum parts right here. Looks like it's for the A-arm. It's for the hinges. Those aluminum pieces machined really nicely. The polished edges. We have this. Holy ball cups. Looks like we have 2 trees of ball cups. Oop. Open up, buddy. I'm trying to unbox you, man. And here looks like we have the slide rack. People are saying this is from the MD 1.0 or something. So it's a slim slide rack. All metal. We even get a turnbuckle wrench in here. More little carbon pieces. I don't know where they go. We'll figure it out when we get there. Bag 6. Oh, they're all coming out randomly. Sorry about that. But this one looks like shock towers. Front and rear aluminum shock towers. Looks like they put one in a bag and one loose in there so they don't scratch each other up. So these are the front bulkhead parts as well. Bag 4 looks like the transmission and gearbox. So this is a 3 or 4 gear gearbox. It's up to you what you want to set it up as, and I think I'm going to do 4 gear because I don't know the difference, and that's what most people run. And now we have the nice aluminum gearbox, open gearbox as well. I don't know how much I like that. This is definitely not going to be my basher. You know, the red cat's going to be for the outdoor stuff for fun, because you definitely don't want to get debris into these gears and wear them out even faster. Even running indoor, I'd recommend cleaning this a lot more often, for sure. So this is definitely a dry gearbox, because it's open. And you know, for drifting, I could understand. It's not really that, you know, taxing on gearboxes and stuff, and I think most of these gears are plastic anyway, except for the main output gear. Or is this the input gear? Not sure. We'll see when we get to there. The ball bearings are in here as well. And it looks like we have the upper arms. What are these uppers? No, these are lowers. Lower arms, upper arms right here. More turnbuckle ends. Looks like some sort of wrench or something with a measuring thing. I'm gonna have to do some reading up here pretty soon. Some stuff I've never seen before. And I've built kits before, but this is my first drifter. I've done touring cars, I've done crawlers. Mostly anything that comes in a kit, I'll usually buy that in a kit versus buying it as an RTR. Because usually when you buy the kit, they give you a little bit better parts. And here are the Yokomo big bores that everyone's talking about. This is one of the first reasons why I decided to choose this kit. Because everyone that says they buy whatever other kit, they all go for this shock afterwards. So why not just get it with a car that comes with it? And this one also has the blue silicone rings, the O-rings right there, so it's smoother. It doesn't dry out. They say like the white ones, they say those dry out a lot faster and leak. They're more prone to leaking. So this is a more updated version of their shock, the big bore, Yokomo big bores. And it comes with a 50 weight oil. Man, I wish it came with those titanium shock shafts though. Those are pretty cool. You guys know, let me know in the comments, are those worth it? Or are those just more bling? They're pretty nice. Oh, now we're going to get into a bigger bag. This bag is a big one. We have the diff already fully built for you in here. I thought I was going to have to build that, but I guess I'm just going to have to open it up and put 10,000 weight oil. That's what it has right here, 10,000 weight oil. I just have to open it up and fill it up, I guess. Hopefully it's not already filled up. We have more bearings in here. We have your rear knuckles, front knuckles, steering knuckles right here. And you have this long threaded servo link because your servo is way back on this chassis. We have some body posts included in here. Looks like they even include some plastic out drives, weirdly. Those are plastic out drives right there. But this one already comes with a metal one, thankfully. I like that part. But it's still plastic gears. I don't know why gears on drift cars are all plastic. Let me know. Is it because of the sound? Maybe the all metal ones would be really loud with an open gearbox. And there's a bag in here, or a little thing back here that shows you all the screw sizes and stuff. So I'm guessing the screws are in this bag as well. So this unboxing is actually different from what I've seen other people unbox this. You know, there you go. There's the bag of screws. So everything's in this giant bag. But it is just body posts, the rear arms, and more aluminum parts right here that holds your rear arms and front arms on. And the chassis. Feels like a piece of paper even in my hand. But it feels nice and stiff. Looks like about the same thickness as most chassis out there. The machining is really nice. Can't feel any really sharp edges that'll cut me or anything. Design's really nice. I like it. It's like a flat carbon. It's not glossy or anything. Now we have some Yokomo stickers. This must be a newer model or a newer batch of the SD 2.0s because I don't remember seeing these stickers included. I know they include these little tickets right here, so if you go to Japan, you can get 1 free pass, I believe, to their drift track. There's 1 day free pass for drifting, I think. And we have all these Yokomo stickers now. I was kind of hoping it had the SD stickers in here, but I guess we don't get the SD stickers anymore. We just get these Yokomo stickers now. So that's different. I really wanted the SD stickers. And here's the instruction manual on how to put your drift car together. Just follow the directions and everything. Gonna build this to complete box stock configuration. That looks like that's everything you get. Let's get to building this guy. Looks like we're gonna need stuff from bag 9, stuff from bag 1, the chassis. They're calling these suspension mounts, and they're calling this right here a chassis bridge. I'm gonna guess bag 1 of the screws right here is gonna be your majority screws for your bottom chassis, because that's what it's telling me to use right here on the first page. We have 3 screws back here to put this mount on there, like so, with the bent curved part towards the back. And now, we can line it up and mount the other screws. And there we go. That rear is connected. So still the same screws so far. Now we're gonna put this rear suspension mount and front suspension mount. It's B for the front right there, and it goes there. And it's D for back here. I don't know what those are for, but there's more carbon bits and more aluminum bits in here that I don't know what they're for. But we need this on the next step, and battery post mounts. And I believe that's bag number 2. That's what I got this out of. And battery post mounts are gonna be bag number 1. I also recommend when it tells you to take stuff out of bags like this, because this was in bag number 2. So once I take those mounts that I need, that little white piece right here, put this bag back in that bag. So that way when you get to the next steps and it tells you to look into bag 2, these parts will be in there and you're not going to be wondering where the heck did I put those. So when you're done doing that, just put these back in the bags that you got them. Especially if the bag is like this and it doesn't have any number on it, that means it came inside another bag. This is the parts you need right here to screw in to the 4 little holes right here. As you can tell, I got that white piece screwed in there now. Screw bag 12 is for your mounts right here, your battery mount. And there we go, everything's screwed in from below. And that's our battery mounts, our battery mount posts. Now to the next step, it seems like we're going to be putting some turnbuckles together. And I'm pretty sure I was told these pictures right here are true to size. So you can actually just lay your link down on here to get the sizing correctly, to get the length right if you don't have anything to measure it with. But there's some measurements right there for both of them. Now let's get those links put together. So that link copies that size, that link copy that size, and they include a turnbuckle right here. Nice little aluminum turnbuckle wrench. Now it looks like we're going to be building the slide rack steering system. This looks like it's going to be a complicated little system right here for me to build. Never built a slide rack before. It's always been one of those bell crank steerings. Let's go ahead and put this together. So now we need screw bag 3 to screw this little carbon piece down here to attach to the slide rack. Then we have these to attach. So this was kind of an actual detailed slider build right here. You need to make sure that it's all free without having any slop. You can tell mine moves pretty freely. Just one finger I can move the slide rack. Now you do need a lot of shims. On that front one right there, you're going to have a thick shim and a thin shim. And then a screw from bag number... What bag number is that? 3. And that's how everything looks on there, just to give you a detailed look at it. And there's one shim above and below the bearings in the rear. And the front one, like I said earlier, it has the thick shims just like in the back, but also a thin shim right before the bearing. So it's 4 shims on the front smaller bearing. And that assembles that piece. Here are the next steering components we need. We need these screws right here. That's going to be in screw bag number 5. Then we need this carbon piece, this steering component, these 2 ball studs, that nut, and that spacer. And here's this piece assembled. Pretty simple enough. We have a spacer and a ball stud right here on the plastic arm. And on the carbon arm we just have a lock nut and a ball stud and the 3 screws. And then you need that one little link that I made earlier, and that's how that all goes together. The next step looks like we're connecting some of these parts right here to connect the steering onto the chassis. We are going to need screw bag number 2 for this screw that connects this piece to this piece. So this piece goes on top of here, screwed in through that hole right there from underneath. And that screws in from underneath. And now we're mounting that piece right there with the 2 screws. It's pretty crazy. We go from assembling steering components, and I thought we were going to put that on the chassis, but now it takes us to diff fluid filling in the differential. And here's the diff broken up. And after that, we're gonna have to build the transmission. So that looks like that's the next step on this one. It's the building of the transmission. So I'm gonna put some diff oil in the diff, show you guys what that looks like with oil in it, and then get to this. Now let's get some of this 10,000 weight oil inside this diff. So you pour a little bit in there and then turn the gears, and then we'll pour a little bit more in, and it says to fill it up almost to the top, so almost full all the way. And it's a thick oil, so it's gonna take some time to fill. So you can tell I'm concentrating just in the middle, so that way it'll just flow in one section and the air won't get trapped in, because if you try to swirl it around everywhere, you'll just trap air down there. So I'm just gonna go down the middle and just let it fill up. Once I get about halfway, I'm gonna spin the gears a little bit. Some of you are gonna see me cut because I can't do that while holding the camera. And then I'll fill it up the rest of the way. You can tell right there I spun it around and you can see the air bubbles trapped right there. Now I'm going to fill it the rest of the way. The instructions show leave that much gap right there. And then put some black grease on the gasket to help it from leaking. Alright, now that we're done filling this with oil and lubing that gasket with the black grease, as you can tell, we have enough oil right here to do probably about 2 more services to this. So that's pretty cool that they provide us with enough oil to get some service in. Now it looks like it's time to put the gearbox together. This looks like it's going to be a lot of work. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be recording this, but I'm just going to, let you guys know how it went. Now it looks like everything I need, minus the bolts, are going to be in bag number 4 for this transmission. Even the spur gears in here. Here's all the parts we're going to need to put the transmission together. And yeah, I'll put it together and then show you guys what it looks like together. And if it was anything that veered off from the instructions, I'll let you know. But so far the instructions have been pretty good for this thing. Now I'm opening up bag 9 for the screws for this transmission. I'm pretty sure there's going to be more, but this is the first different bag that I'm opening. So I've been mentioning every bag. If I had to open a new bag, I mention it. If I didn't have to open a new bag yet and I'm using some of the other screws, I usually haven't mentioned it yet. Now I'm opening bag 8, screw bag 8, to get this onto the transmission right here. As you can tell, we got everything almost together. Pretty cool transmission. The diff is actually easily serviceable and removable. As you can tell, you don't even have to install it yet. Now that I built the gearbox, so the next step is going to be putting the spur gear on the gearbox and then installing the gearbox on the chassis. The gearbox right here, very smooth. And you can tell that little thing that says 0 right there, that little spacer piece, that's the way it goes in. You see how it's thicker on this side compared to this side? That side goes in there or else your gears won't mesh. And the gearbox goes pretty well. Now we have a bearing in here, so don't worry about the bearing. Don't worry about there not being a bearing right there because it's actually out here on the carrier. And it's all metal, so it's gonna be good. Now this steering linkage over here goes on with the 2 bearings. One bearing down here, one up here, and it just slides onto here. And then the transmission hooked up to the rear end right there. 4 screws down here. Pretty simple. Next step is supposed to be installing the servo, but I'm going to skip the electronics for now, so I'm going to go to the front bulkhead steps. That's the next step on this one, so we can install the steering rack and everything. And then after that, it looks like we're going to the shock towers. Looks like we're getting into bag 6 right here for the front bulkhead and stuff. Alright, I have the steering slide rack installed, nice and free, nice and smooth up front. I have the shock tower installed, aluminum shock tower, same with the rear, aluminum shock tower, just 2 screws for each of those to get on there. And the chassis is looking more and more like a drift car. Now it's saying to assemble a whole bunch of links right here. They have the link lengths and everything. But I'm going to go ahead and skip this for now, and I'm going to go ahead and install, go to this step right here and start installing the upper and lower A-arms, front and rear. Bag number 7 right here has your upper and lower arms, so we're going to need to assemble next. Some lock screws right there to hold the pins in for the upper arms. Lower arms are in with the 5 degree, it looks like here, front and rear. And the rear one is going to be using a 2 degree in the back, I think, or a number 2 block and a number 5 block at the front. That's what I'm going to be doing next. Yep, getting pretty close here. I'm liking it, I'm liking it. It looks pretty quality and everything went together pretty smoothly. No hiccups so far. And we have bag 9 right here with the rear arms, hinge pins. Get this all assembled back there in the last block right here. Alright, check these little mounts back here where the pills go in for your lower arms. I actually mounted those in reverse, so I had them turned around and there's actually a chamfered edge or a lip to them. And the lip goes on the other side, so these pills that you slide in there don't actually slide out the other side. So it's on the other side that I'm not showing you right here. That's where the lip's gonna slide in through. So it's gonna look like this. You're gonna have those plastic toe adjustments right there. And it's gonna be a number 2 for the rear. This one right here is a number 2. And the one I'm holding in my hand is a number 5, just like the front. And the front is 5 all around. There you go. We have the rear arms assembled on there. Everything's looking pretty nice. Everything's moving nice and freely, as you can tell. Just moving it around makes the arms move, so everything's nice and free. Continue on. We're gonna assemble all of the steering knuckles and the rear hubs. So it's 3 spacers up front, 1 spacer at the back, and the screw, and the 2 bearings that go in there. In the rear, same 2 bearings, 1 inside, 1 outside. Then we have a little, it looks like some sort of dampener or something that keeps it quiet right here for the outdrive. And we have a 5mm hex right here. So I think that's what I'll do first. I'll install the top deck and everything else here. Then we'll go ahead and let's build these shocks. Gotta screw in the top deck right here. Have these all screwed in. Rear's all together. Front's all together. Well, here's bag 10. We're almost done building this. Let's put some shocks on this guy. So let's build these shocks. I'm gonna build one for you guys on camera so you guys can see how it's done, and you know, should be good enough from there. You guys should figure it out from there, I'm pretty sure. The progressive spring, this one right here, is gonna be in for the rear. And the non-progressive spring, the linear spring, is gonna be for the front. And here's all the parts you need right here to assemble one shock body. So this is for one shock, all the parts you need right here. You need that O-ring, shock shaft, guide, 2 C-clips, the piston, you got yourself an O-ring, the bladder, the top cap, top mount, bottom cap, and the spring preload, and the spring perch, and of course the shock body. I'm gonna go ahead and assemble this as a rear with the progressive spring. So let's go ahead and let's get this together. We're gonna get this little collar right here and this little rubber O-ring, the black one. And that's gonna actually sit inside of this collar, and that's gonna prevent this from being easy to turn. So it's gonna kind of put some resistance to it, so that way when you're adjusting your shock collar preload, it doesn't change easily when you hit vibrations and stuff. It was actually at the top, so it'll be easier to get it through here probably. Trying to get that in there. It's funny, most shocks I've purchased before already have this just installed. I guess Yokomo wants you to completely build your shock. There you go. Not sure if you guys can tell, but that little rubber piece inside there, and that actually just screws into here after you have that rubber O-ring in there. You're gonna feel a little bit of resistance while screwing this in. I like to screw this all the way up. And next we're gonna get this tiny little shock shaft right here. We're gonna do the very delicate part of putting a C-clip on here. Now this usually ends up in C-clips flying across the room and stuff, so I'm gonna try to be very careful. There you go, I got the bottom C-clip on. And now you just have to get your piston, which is a 4-hole piston, and it's either way, there's no right side up. And once you put that on, you're gonna put the other C-clip on top. There you go, now we have the C-clip up there, and now the piston is secured. Now what I actually like to do from this point is insert this piston straight into the shock body. And the reason I like to do it this way is because if you assemble this whole bottom half first and put the O-ring in there and everything, and then you slide this shaft through, now that O-ring is compressed and you're going to be scoring up that, you know, O-ring with these threads right here. So I like doing it this way so there's no pressure on the threads. You just grab the blue O-ring. That just goes in here. And a lot of people like to use some assembly grease here so it stops some leaking. I normally don't. I just use some of the actual silicone oil on here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a drop of silicone oil in here. And I'm going to put this plastic piece, this little black plastic piece, the guide, on. I'll be using the 50 weight that they included. Get that nice and greased up. There you go. So it's nice and greased up there. And then I'm going to grab the bottom cap that goes on there. That just screws in the bottom. Now I like to actually do this as I'm screwing it up, so I make sure I'm not, you know, pinching that O-ring. Just wiggle it around and go up and down, so that way you're not introducing any, you know, damage to that O-ring. And there you go, it's fully tightened down, nice and smooth and freely moving. Next step is to screw in the bottom link. I'm going to be using this one, and it would help if I had shock pliers right now to put this on. I will do that off camera. I'm just going to show you how it works right now. Usually like to thread that all the way up till the threads are not showing anymore. I think that's what it shows in the book too. Yeah, so here's the body. I'm going to show you how to close it up first before I even put oil. So let's just pretend this is full of oil. So I usually top it off till it's right at the top, and I go ahead and slide this bladder sideways like this. I don't just drop it on top because you could trap some air that way. So I slide it on like so, and then usually you'll see some oil puddled up right there on the corners, which is okay. Then you're going to get the top shock mount and the shock top cap, and that's just going to screw up top here, and you're just going to screw this on snug, not too tight because you don't want to damage that rubber bladder. So you're just going to snugly tighten this all the way. And after that, like I said, it's going to be the rear, so I'm going to use the progressive spring with the progressive part up top, but I don't think it matters. And then we're going to get the spring retainer, put that on there, and there you go. Now we have a shock fully built, and that's pretty much it. So let me go ahead and put some oil in here, show you guys what it looks like with the oil, get all the air out of there, and I'll build the rest of them, and then we'll put them on the car. I like to fill it up halfway from here. So just go ahead and put a couple drops in there until you're halfway. A little bit over halfway there, but as you can tell. And then what I like to do from here is I'll pump it up and down. You're gonna see some air bubbles. And then after I pump it up and down a couple of times, just, oh, I introduced air into there. Did you hear that? You don't want to do that. So be careful, don't go above the oil line. And then after that, now I just fill it up the rest of the way. Like so, and then just let it sit for a while on my little shock stand. Once I'm done building all of them, then I can go back to the first one I built and probably close that up because it's going to be good and it's not going to have any more air bubbles. And go to the next one that I did, and the next one, and then the last one. And that's how I build my shocks. Now what I did here was, before I screwed the top cap on, I left this shaft fully extended. Just a little bit, maybe a little bit compressed. And then I just screwed this tightly on there, and that way when you press down on this shaft, it'll actually rebound back a little bit. And for the rear shocks, I pressed them almost all the way down and tightened the top cap. Now this is obviously without the spring on, and by doing that, I have less rebound on here with the spring off. So now the rear ones are going to rebound less. The front ones are going to rebound more, so that way we can squat and get more grip, and the front one can lift up. That's what I see most people doing for their setup, so I'm just trying to copy other setups. It's not like a professional setup or nothing. This is just what I've seen people doing. What I do with my shocks is I try to make it to where there's no rebound on it whatsoever on the shaft with no spring on it. It's just going to be damper, all damper for racing. Now for drifting, I know they use it as a tuning aid to kind of put a little bit of, you know, preload on the actual shaft or the oil in there, versus just having the spring giving you the pushback. So yeah, just a little bit of tuning tip right there, nothing too crazy. Everything went together really nicely. Very quality kit. Had no issues whatsoever. I didn't have to deburr anything. I didn't have to modify anything or tinker with anything. Everything just fit really well. And man, look at that. Look at that gearbox. Super sweet. All I gotta do is remove 4 screws back here, and you can take out the differential. Look at that, guys. That's a super sweet kit. Can't wait to get this thing going. So next video, electronics. Then after that, hopefully, we can run this guy. Alright guys, thanks for watching as usual. As always, stay safe out there, go have fun, and run that RC.